eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be with you here today. And thanks for being with me. Keep me company. I'm doing it solo today, and but there's lots to cover. So I mean, even if we did have a guest on or co-host, it would be remarkably difficult to even scratch the surface of all the things going on to talk about today on this wonderful Friday, August the 19th, 2022. So it's an interesting date today. Yesterday, my wife's birthday, so happy birthday belated, but we obviously talked and exchanged all the pleasantries on the birthday yesterday. But it's an interesting day because it's my youngest daughter's birthday tomorrow. So my wife's birthday yesterday, my youngest daughter's birthday tomorrow. So today's the day in between kind of thing. And so happy birthday to them both. And happy birthday if it's your birthday today, if it happens to be August the 19th. You're joining us on the radio by, if you're driving to work. Good morning, Billy. Thanks for listening again and making sure the show is on the air as you're driving into work. Always a part of the show, huge part of getting the show off the ground, as many people who watch the show and listen to the show already know. But so you can hear us on 96.7 FM here in Sudbury. Also, you can hear us on that stream on the internet if you go to cklu.ca. And you just click on the Radio Player Canada app logo. The player will open and you can listen to us that way. Also, you can download that app and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And there you go. And not only this show, but all CKLU's shows, which is Sudbury's campus and community radio station, been around since 1984. It's a Sudbury landmark. Anyways, and it needs your support. So if you're able to, go to the website and click on the donate button and do what you can. We really appreciate that. We actually need that in order to keep the airwaves, keep ourselves on the air, keep the lights on, and keep all of the things rolling. It is a mainly volunteer-run station that we operate from. And now this is just a particular show. You can have your own show as well. On CKLU, you just have to pitch your idea to Rob, the general manager. You just email him gm@cklu.ca and say, hey, I got this idea for a radio show. Now you don't have to do the whole Facebook, YouTube live thing as we do as well. You can just do radio show, but you can also record it and use it as a podcast and have your own podcast. This way, it's all kind of done for you. The equipment is already there. You're trained on how to use it. If you're kind of, like most of us, when you first start out, you don't really know too much, right? So speaking of Facebook Live, YouTube Live, thanks for joining us. And good morning, Lise. Good morning. Yes. Happy Friday. It is a happy Friday. Make sure to comment like Lise is here. Any ideas that you have about what we're talking about, comments, suggestions even. I'll make sure to do my best as we are, I am solo today at keeping track of all your comments as I'm trying to cover tons and tons and tons of material today. So make sure to like, subscribe the page, the video. It's a way to get the community conversation out there and in front of more eyeballs. And so more people can listen to it, know about the show, know that they can take part in this discussion that we are facilitating here. So as with every day, we begin with the weather and see what kind of weather we got. And today in particular, it is interesting because it's the weekend. So everyone's wondering what the weather's going to be like on the weekend. So let's get right down to it. We'll be right back. So today we are looking at, it's beautiful out right now, 16 degrees, 89% humidity. And the mix of sun and cloud can be expected for today, 40% chance of showers. This is very similar to yesterday, so it's probably a carbon copy of that. There's also a risk of thunderstorm in the afternoon. There's fog patches that'll be dissipating this morning, and the wind will be the regular 20 kilometers to 40 from the southwest near noon. High 27 with the humidex 31. Tonight, partly cloudy, 40% chance of showers. This evening with, again, a risk of a thunderstorm, and the low tonight will be 15. Saturday, mix of sun and cloud, 60% chance of showers in the afternoon with, again, a risk of thunderstorm. Wind becoming 20 kilometers, gusting to 40, the usual from the south, and it'll be a high of 27 tomorrow, predicted, with a humidex 32. So much the same yesterday, today, tomorrow. And UV index will be 7. Long range, you're looking again, like we said, tomorrow. Looks like they're predicting a little bit more chance of showers than not. And on Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 26. And then it is the traditional mix of sun and cloud forecast going forward of we do not know what kind of weather is coming, but if we just put mix of sun and cloud, high of 24 to 26 each and every day, Monday through Thursday of next week. So it looks like a pretty simple prediction, and you can't really go wrong with it. But anything can happen, as we've seen here today. Mix of sun and cloud. There's a chance of showers. There's a chance of a thunderstorm. And again, it's just a chance. You never know. It might not even happen. But anyways, prepare for anything today, and you'll be fine. We'll be back with some of the headlines and there's so much news going on. So someone made a comment yesterday about, we should list what we're talking about. That way they know to just kind of go to the video where they're interested. So this is the segment where we're going to be going over what we're going to be unpacking, and then we're going to go more into it. So if you want to kind of tune in later, this is the chance right now after this to see what we're going to be talking about today, and then go later in the video. But anyways, we'll be back right after this. All right, so as promised, I got to get my template up and running here. The lot of headlines to talk about. It's it's a news robust day today. And I'm going to see if I can actually do a good job of soloing it today without a co-host. But I think we'll do okay. I'm just trying to get our comments up here on Facebook. It doesn't look like it's loaded yet. It is. Good stuff. So yeah. So here's the first story. It's coming from CTV Northern Ontario. And it's something that I'm not surprised about, because as we got rid of the encampment downtown, Memorial Park, you remember that was going on, and we're trying to get rid of all the people that were setting up shop there. A lot of people that were without homes. Basically, it was like a little tent city. Well, because they got rid of that, now we need, a place to live. So we're not downtown anymore. So we're kind of spreading out in the city. So residents around Ramsey Lake are concerned by the encampments that are starting around their places. So I guess the solution of just dispelling all the homeless people in Memorial Park was maybe part of a solution, but I don't know ongoing if it was the solution, because now we have people living around the residences of Ramsey Lake. And hey, if I was, living in an urban setting, but living in a tent and having to do everything and, fend for myself, and I was homeless, I'd look at Ramsey Lake too as a kind of a destination. Cause there's water there. I can go for a swim. It's kind of nice. That's kind of a good pick. Good morning, Julia. Nice to have you with us this morning. And, make sure to chime in if you have anything that you wanted to add to what we're talking about this morning. So here's an interesting one. And I think this is going to be happening more and more around the city, around the province, around the country for that matter, maybe even the world, as we start getting more and more crunched with our medical situation, that it's going to cause a lot more problems. And so there was a man threatened to kill a doctor and nurses at Health Sciences North. And this is a story that we may come back to, but I think people are getting more and more frustrated with the way things are going. And I don't think it's going to stop. And I think what I'm going to do is begin today with a video, because I have to go let my dog in, because my wife's away today. It's her birthday and she's away. Anyways, I let my dog out and then didn't let her back in, and she's barking outside. So this is a first. Anyways, so I was going to share this video a little later, but now it's a perfect time. But this kind of sets up what we're going to be talking about today, some of the deeper things of what kind of we got to look forward to. And then I will be right back after this. And so thanks for bearing with me, guys, but I'm going to share this video anyways. So why not now? Better now than never. So we'll just watch this. And this is what's kind of happening with our supply chains recently.
First, there were shortages of baby formula in Canada. Now it's over-the-counter children's liquid Tylenol and Advil. The nationwide shortage is enough to stress any parent. But as CTV's Heather Wright reports, there may be a way around the supply chain problem.
Cold and flu season is still technically weeks away, but the shelves at this Toronto pharmacy are empty.
When going into like Shoppers Drug Mart or any grocery stores, trying to find Advil, trying to find Tylenol, shelves have been bare for weeks.
An ongoing nationwide shortage of children's liquid Tylenol and Advil has some parents like Caitlin Doherty scrambling to find medicine for their kids.
Scour different stores, see what you can find. We had to do that with the formula shortage. We had to get friends to find formula.
The shortage is being blamed in part on supply chain issues, COVID, as well as an unusually bad summer cough and cold season.
Usually we have low volumes of sick children and sick adults this time of year, but it has been very, very high. Our numbers now are much like we have in December and January and February.
The shortage has prompted Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto to warn parents their children may need a prescription to access liquid Tylenol or Advil.
There are no products available to be ordered in the Tylenol family for children in that liquid formulation, apart from the stock bottles that are quite large in volume.
In that case, the medicine is repackaged from a larger bottle to a smaller one, and so a prescription is required. Other alternatives include chewable tablets, suppositories, or crushing regular tablets, but that comes with a caution.
You always want to make sure you're giving the appropriate dose of the medication, so do touch base with your healthcare provider to make sure that the product you're giving your child based on their weight and their health condition is appropriate.
Supply of liquid Tylenol and Advil really varies from place to place, but doctors are cautioning parents not to hoard any medication if you find some in stock. Sandy.
All right, CTV's Heather Wright, thank you.
Yeah, so there you have it on
If you're a parent,
got to get this
always priority number one.
There you go. Okay, and it's done. Anyway, so yeah, so a little bit of a sneak peek into what we're not only experiencing now or just experienced in the recent past, but we are going to be experiencing more and more in the future, and that is shortages and we've, it started with the baby formula in the United States, and now it's going into other things. You have Tylenol and ibuprofen, basically Advil. So this is pain medication, and we'll see how we're dealing with this locally, but it really does have to do with a lot of the things we're talking about today. The cold and flu this summer. Maybe people have been using a lot of it, but we've had other cold and flu seasons before, and we were able to basically, you just ramp up production. It's businesses are supply and demand. You can always, make more things, but we talked about yesterday, there's a little problem going on. And you could say the pandemic, was instrumental in it, but it was, just manufacturing things in general is, workers calling in sick and, people testing positive and having to take 5 days quarantine. How could you really run, a business like that when you can't really, people aren't coming into work. So if they're not coming into work, then you can't really do things. So then everything, if that's happening everywhere and you manufacture a car, let's say, and you have enough trouble getting your workers in to work, and then you're getting your supplies from the people making all the various supplies. So there's people making windows, there's people making brake parts, there's people making rubbers, there's people making all the things that go into a car. And they're all having those issues too, getting workers out. And then they get their supplies from the rubber people growing it and making just rubber. And then they sell it to the people that process it and make it into rubber products. And then they sell it to the car company. So that's called a supply chain. And it's in every industry. So it's in the food, it's in the car, it's in the manufacturing, it's in every industry. And so we have supply chain problems, period. You might have experienced them yourselves. And along with inflation, then if we already have an inflationary kind of climate, it even makes it worse, called hyperinflation, because now when products are hard to get at supply and demand, and so prices go up. If more people want that thing, there's only one thing and 10 people want it, well, it's going to go to the highest bidder, right? So that's where you have all these higher prices that we're getting. Okay. So Jerome's saying the more fear mongering from the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, to maintain relevance. Well, we see that all the time, right? It's like if I have a business and I put out a press release, I always thought if I had a virus software, the best thing that I could do is put out a virus, right? Like, duh. Like that would make my product more relevant if there were viruses out there. And don't think for a second these software companies don't do that, because it just makes good business sense to do that. You need to do that. It's kind of like if I had a graffiti removal business, I just hire a few people to go out and do graffiti around the place. And then I go, hey, I have the solution to get rid of graffiti. It's old as anything. Everywhere there's a shortage. Exactly. So now this brings us back. Just before I had to let my dog in, playing the video, was this kind of incident at the hospital, the local hospital here, where, somebody's threatening to kill a doctor and nurses. Now, without even diving into the story, it's just the overarching thing is when I was there, you feel tension. You feel a lot of people, because people are waiting. The services aren't there right away. There's a lot of stress. Everyone's got their mask on. Everyone's social distancing. So they already have this fear of being around everyone in there already. And then there's now shortages. So imagine someone comes in and they're in dire pain and they're in the hall, which I've experienced before with family members because there's not enough room. And they have to have some pain relief because they're in pain. Maybe they broke their leg, whatever happened. And then they're in the hallway. There's a bunch of people that got their mask on. They might be afraid they're going to catch something. And the nurse comes up and says, "I'm sorry, there's no pain medication here for you." Because we have to prioritize who gets the pain medication because we don't have enough of it. Because there's a shortage. So this is kind of a real world example of not only what we're experiencing now, but the future of how it's going to get even worse. So people who are already kind of on the edge of, the buttons being pushed, they could be pushed over that, and then they're going to act out. And then they're already talking about at the hospital, they need to increase security. So now you have security has to be upped. So now you become more of everywhere it's got security because everyone's mad. And so there's a lot of police, there's a lot of security, there's mad people because of things are not available anymore. We already pay astronomical amounts of taxes. So that way these things could be available for us, right? It's a free healthcare system that we pay more than anyone in the world for. Free, but yet we pay the most. I don't understand how those two words go together, but it is what it is. And you're going to see a lot of angry people coming up if things don't change. And I don't again, and Billy's not here to be the most positive influence on me because I'm just here to be an old crotchety guy. But one comment here on our Facebook, Elizabeth says, still a menace, so lock him up kind of thing, even if he has good reason. So a lot of people are like, there's no excuse for people like that. So people are like, throw the book at them, even though if they are put in the same situation, you never know, right? I'm sure Lisa LaFlamme could have been all over the firing of Don Cherry and thinking that was the greatest thing to do. And then you find yourself in the same position a little bit later, right? So it's, hard to say. Now, moving on, and we'll probably come back to that. We're going to come back to that. But for now, let's just go through some of the other headlines. Junction East project in Sudbury gets money for net zero facility study. I think they get about $65,000 for a net zero facility study. So the government's going to give a firm, I really should go out and start a firm because I think that's where the money is. Charge, $200, $700, something like that an hour to do studies. And the government will just give you the money to do a study on whatever. So anyways, they're going to do a study on trying to make the Junction East a net zero project. I saw a comment on where the story comes from, SudburyStar.com, and a person says there is no such thing as net zero, which I probably agree with. Anyways, they're going to try and make this the most environmentally friendly, all-inclusive library you've ever seen in your life. So that's just, that's a headline. Junction East, that's a continuing thing. So Mayor Brian Bigger, a very large proponent for the Junction East Library. Greater Sudbury officials push key council priorities at key conference. So we've been talking about this mayoral conference they've had going on and how the province wants to give mayors more power and they can, veto things and get things pushed through, which the province said this is coming from the province. When the province has something they think is important, they want mayors to be able to push it through faster. Whatever's on our list, including, and the way they put it forward was the housing. They want us to build housing faster. There's a lot of red tape, which in Sudbury we're the leaders of red tape. So they want to do away with that and just get to housing real quick when we get to the solution. And then they said also, not only housing, we want whatever's on our list to be put through quick, but they didn't mention what was on that list in particular. So, Julie, that's probably going to so that's probably going back into politicians' pockets I'm sure that goes on as well. Again, a lot of us are apathetic to the whole system, unfortunately, and we want our faith in our system to be, to be renewed at some point. And so there are some glimmering, little lights out there that give me a little bit of hope. But for the most part, I'm kind of with the whole apathetic angle of things. But the city was making the case for what we think is important at that conference. So this is something that I have a lot of experience with, knowledge. I used to work with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, and this is the CEO of the CFIB, speaking at how small businesses' recovery during the pandemic and during these times with high costs are going to be detrimental to small business. This goes in line with basically, everything that we've been talking about already. So this is Dan Kelly. He is the president of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, otherwise known as the acronym is CFIB. Rising costs threaten small business recovery, CFIB says. Bankruptcy data doesn't tell the whole story of threat facing businesses. The Canadian small businesses are at greater risk of going under than federal bankruptcy data suggests, as rising operating costs complicate their efforts to recoup losses from the pandemic, a business lobby group said Thursday. That was CFIB. So inflation, labor shortages are just some of the factors sapping businesses' ability to get back to normal, according to CFIB. Dan Kelly said that the burden will grow further by the end of the year as business owners will see another increase in Canada Pension Plan and employment insurance payments, which is always good when you're an employee, right? You want the benefits, and you want you want as much as you can get, right? Now, not realizing that the employer, that's a burden on an employer. Now, if you work for a hospital, education, government, big institutions, banks, this isn't a problem. But when you are making cakes, let's say, and you need one employee to help you, and you're barely making it by, any increase to your costs are going to sting a lot. So we live in a very kind of union orientated town. Like most of the employers are government, education, mining, things like that, health. And these are mainly government funded. And I'll even say mining probably has corporate welfare. So to have these increases that we're getting are fine for them, but not for small to medium-sized businesses. They take a huge hit. And in order to absorb some of those costs, they have to raise their prices. So, and then you say, well, to go to this local person, they cost more. And so why don't I go to this big box place that's a lot cheaper because it's saving me money? So eventually that small business owner can't do it anymore and they're out of business. And then you just see, a place where there's only one option to buy something. Many business owners are saying they just can't hang on anymore. Kelly said nothing that even businesses that have gone back to normal levels of sales may still be unprofitable because costs are so much higher than what they were in the past. In his report Thursday, the CFIB said more than half of the business owners they surveyed are yet to return to quote unquote normal pre-pandemic revenue levels, while nearly 2 out of 3 are still carrying a pandemic debt. It said only 10% have been able to pay the debt back in full. Yeah. So that's what's the number? 85% of our economy is basically small business. Like, it looks to us like all these huge businesses are kind of in the driver's seat and whatever, but really I think it's around 85% of the country's economy is from small business. There's more people working for small business around the country, not Sudbury, maybe not, but around the country than any other industry. And that's what drives the economy. So if you have small businesses all going out of business because costs are too much, then your economy, along with all these other things we've been talking about, is affected. And you have less supplies now because the mom and pop shops or the medium-sized businesses with like 100 or so employees can't do it anymore. You only have the one solution. And so they raise the prices up because they're the only ones who offer it. They have no competition anymore. And now everyone loses. The economy's bad. Inflation's up. All the prices are up. And yeah, it's an ideology that basically eats a society from the inside out. And that's what we're seeing here. It's like everyone bought into this ideology that, everything's free. We just had to pay lots of taxes and the government will take care of us. And with this ideology now, we're starting to see the repercussions. You're starting, if it's the Titanic, it's where the nose is under the water kind of thing. And the violinists are starting to come out there. And for the economy's sake anyways. And this is worldwide. This isn't just Canada. Sorry for the doom and gloom, everyone, this morning. But hey, I'm just looking at the news. And speaking of Lisa LaFlamme, here's an article of over why she was ousted with the CTV's brass, if you will, top brass. And it is because this is a reporter for the Toronto Star. It says the decision to fire Lisa LaFlamme from CTV was approved at the very top of Bell, not Bell Media, but Bell Canada, according to sources at Bell. Those sources say the Bell CEO was told of the decision to terminate LaFlamme earlier this year after the decision was made by the VP of News, Michael Melling. That decision, though, was only allowed to go ahead after approval from Karine Moses, the Senior Vice President of Content Development and News, as well as the President of Bell Media. Then approval from the top dog himself over Bell Canada. The legal department and human resources were also heavily involved, according to people close to the decision. So it seems like there was a concerted effort, a lot of people working together to get her off the anchor chair at CTV. Recent media coverage. This is Moses issued a memo to staff early Thursday trying to do damage control on the story that Bell has lost control of the narrative on if they ever had it. Moses wrote, recent media coverage about our team has unfortunately been filled with false narratives, and I appreciate that seeing this coverage is likely difficult to many of you. She also took aim at the narrative that LaFlamme was fired because the new boss in the newsroom, Michael Melling, doesn't like women. As a female leader at Bell Media with many years of service, I also want you to know that my experiences have always been consistent with positive, collaborative, and an inclusive environment. Well, the saga continues. Why was she fired? Well, because we can these days. You can just cancel anyone anytime for any reason. Don't even really need a reason. So Miles says, what's been really hard on small business has been the rise in minimum wage. Yeah, correct. The government has not helped small businesses. Manitoba has a plan to help business in Manitoba. Well, that's great because they do need to do that. This is the role of government, right? To support and to help. I was a small business owner for many, many years. That's what I would say I am, just basically an entrepreneur. Do have a full-time job now, however, because it's such a hard road to take. almost 90% of small businesses, as much as it is almost the same percentage of the economy of Canada, the same percentage goes out of business within 5 years. So it's a hard go being an entrepreneur, and government, from what I've found, was not supportive. They're the first ones on the phone when you owe them money, hounding you. Now, I know a good friend of mine who was even my boss for many years, who has a different play on it, says, oh, you must have just got a bad rep that you called. I've had really great experiences with government every time I've dealt with them. So this is maybe just a perspective. I don't know. But yeah, but this person I'm speaking of is a very big believer in big government, feels that, they what's happening now should have been happening all along. We need to give all of our accountability, just give ourselves over to the government so they can take care of us, kind of thing. So, which I don't agree with that type of thing. I believe government's there to support me, hopefully not there to tell me what to do and micromanage me. I've never seen that kind of leadership model go well. I've always seen the one that encourages, supports, helps you to learn, gives you the tools, and then allows you to do what you can do best. And I've seen that model work the best, not the other one where you do as I say, or else, and then, if I allow you to do it, I'll do it. And if you don't do it, I'll punish you. These types of things, they're two different kind of philosophies. And I think people, if you give them the right kind of opportunities and tools, they'll grow and they'll prosper with those, with encouragement. Anyways, so speaking of the kind of ideology that wants big government, the NDP MP, this is an NDP MP, wonders if we still need indoor ice rinks given the climate impact. So really we have in Canada, we have a Conservative Party. We have a Liberal Party. Where in the States, they call them Republican, Democrat. So in the States, Conservatives are Republicans and Democrats are Liberals. But we just call them what they are here. Conservatives, Liberals, Liberal. And then we have NDP, which the New Democratic Progressive, is that what it stands for? Party? New Democrat Party, sorry. But they are progressive. So anyways. Now, I don't know why they don't just come out. I think anyways, they're for socialism / communism. Why don't they call themselves the Communist Socialist Party? Because our other parties are called conservative, liberal, and you just have to just name it what it is, right? And I'm okay with that. Like, why do you name it something different? In Canada, we're already naming them what they are. We're not coming up with different names like they do in the United States. So here is a representative of that. And this is like what I'm talking about, the kind of ideology. So they're recommending closing down ice rinks because they're detrimental for climate change. So do you see a little bit of the where the idea is coming from? Anyways, I just want to share a meme that someone shared on that. I just thought that was hilarious. Because that was my reaction exactly. And sometimes memes do a really good job of, allowing us to express ourselves. The NDP were called 60 years ago the CCF. Do you know what that stands for, Miles? Just because you're there and you know the acronym and you can find it a lot quicker. You probably know what it stood for. So if you want to let us know in the comments, that would be great. But anyways, is that even an option to shut down ice rinks? So again, if you come back to the ideology of climate change in general, and we're going to fight climate change. Now, I want to this is a perfect opportunity to let everyone know that the views expressed on this show they don't necessarily reflect those of Laurentian University, to which this station is part of, or CKLU, the station itself. These are my views and my views alone, and some of your views and comments as you share them. And so do you see where that ideology is leading to? We're fighting climate. In order to fight climate, we got to kill ourselves. We got to kill our economy, kill our society, get rid of anything that we know, because we are bad. Even the exhale we have is probably contributing to climate change. So if we can stop exhaling, which means we have to stop inhaling, that would probably be really good for the climate. We get rid of cows so we can't eat anymore. Get rid of anything that we have. Get rid of hockey rinks so we can't play hockey anymore. We'll just, I don't know what we're going to do. Lock ourselves in a closet and don't breathe. Now climate can continue to be better, and who can benefit from that? Definitely not us. So I don't understand it. I'm totally open to having somebody come on the show and explain it to me. I really don't understand how it works. But here you have somebody saying, let's just close down all of our arenas because they contribute to climate change. It stood for Cooperative Commonwealth Federation. Can't you just say communism? Like, again, if you understand what communism, that's what that stands for. Cooperative Commonwealth Federation. The idea of communism that we're all equal, nobody can excel more than anyone else. You're told what to do. If you grow up and it looks like you're a good athlete, well, you're told, no, you're going to be an athlete because that's what you're best at, or you look like you're best at. And it's really, the government owns everything, controls everything. And then we just basically go along with it. In Quebec, it's translated Social Democratic Party of Canada. Again, socialism. Yeah, they're getting a little closer there. So, yeah. Why do they always put democratic in there? I have no idea. I guess you just voted in first. You voted in, and once you voted it in, it just stays in, and then you don't have any more choice after that. It's kind of like the way it works. But again, just come out and say it. Come out and say it. If you read the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, it's in there. You just, that you can just line up the ideology of the NDP and now Liberal Party, basically, and probably even most of the Conservative Party, as we start to just kind of blend into one homogenized kind of, society. We're following the document called the Communist Manifesto. Karl Marx, if you haven't had a chance to read it yet, just download it. It's free. You just look it up. Communist Manifesto PDF. Read it. And at the same time, maybe if you want to kind of put it towards a different kind of ideology, you can download the Constitution of the United States. And with the two documents, you can kind of compare them and see one is the opposite of the other. One says black, the other one says white. One says soft, the other one says hard. It's really opposite points of view of the way to run a society. And so then you can see, basically from those two documents, one says you're free, the other one, and God has given you the rights that you have when you're born. That's the Constitution. No man or no person can have authority over your freedom. You are born free. Everyone's born equal. So you got the whole communism idea down right in there. Everyone's equal. Right at the beginning of the Constitution, it says everyone's equal. No one has power over another one. But then the Communist Manifesto says you don't have rights. You have privileges. Now, you don't have rights that are given to you by God that are stated in the Constitution. You have privileges that are given to you by the government, which can be taken away at any time. So those are the fundamental, foundational ideologies, and everything else comes out of that. So those two opposing points of view. So whatever one, I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. Let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just come out and say it. Don't need to hide anything. Which one do you stand on? Like, why do we gotta kind of make a lot of smoke and mirrors around this thing? So Singh has given Trudeau a deadline. If he doesn't meet the NDP's demands by the year's end, his support of the Liberals is gone. Well, thanks for bringing back to a more Canadian type setting. So yeah, we know our Liberal government is now working with the NDP, basically like a coalition, like an unofficial coalition, right? Where the NDP are saying, give us the dental care for youth under 18 in all of Canada, which sounds like a really great thing. And this is the problem with things like this. It sounds so good. Who wouldn't want dental care for everyone under 18? Now, there's different ways of achieving that. However, there's not just one way of achieving it. It's kind of like we need housing built. So the provincial government comes out and says, well, let's give mayors a lot more power. That way they can get housing built. Well, is that the only way to get housing built? Is to give the mayors way more power than anyone else in council? No, but that's the solution. Now, along with this new power, maybe there's some other things we can put in there too. I don't appreciate that kind of I don't know, philosophy, if you will. I just like, if you want to do something, just say you're going to do it. And I think a lot of times they know they can't do something if they just come out and say it. So they got to come up with all these other, and now you have politics, a bunch of games being played to kind of satisfy people while you're doing something else and just make them think you're doing one thing while you're doing another. And you got all these voices, all these people in the sandbox influencing. Anyways, this is interesting. Look at this. So the Nickel City's ranking of 23rd best metro city to live in Canada has come out in a study. The Nickel City's ranking in the rentola.ca listing notches it highest on the list among Northern Ontario cities, which also includes Barrie, which is 33rd, and Thunder Bay, which is 34th. Wow. Did you know that? That we're ranked the 23rd best city in Canada to live in. So here are a couple of comments on that. Matt Headley says, only people who haven't had to live in other cities would get it. It's a pretty great place. If the government was a bit more friendly to developers, it might even go back to being affordable too. So very positive, right? And it is a great city to live in. And I think he kind of pulled out one of the main things of why it's maybe, why we can't get housing built in the city or other things like that. It doesn't necessarily mean just giving more power to the mayor to do it. But we've had our issues with bureaucracy and red tape and not getting things done. 23rd says it all. That's Aaron. Wasn't it over 2 years ago we were considered the worst place in Canada to raise a family? I swear I read that in the news somewhere. That's funny. Bottom of the barrel because of our city council. That's June. Christine says, well, that's a bit of a fat lie. So fast pace. Ha ha ha. Anyway, so you got some good and some very kind of sour ones. And Jill says, until you meet the mayor. These are not my comments, by the way. These are just readers' comments on Sudbury News' Facebook page on the story. But anyways, you want to read more on rentola.ca about our city's 23rd ranking in the top best to live cities in Canada. You can do that. Sudbury Star shared a really cool picture of the dam that's behind LaSalle along the Maley Drive extension. I didn't even know this existed, and it's a really cool looking dam. And so the Walden Mountain Bike Club got their picture taken on top of that the other day from the Sudbury Star. Really cool. Here's interesting. We talked about those bollards, and Sudbury drivers not fussy about bollards. Some of the comments. Here's Matt again. The bollards are those things they put in the middle of the street, so you got to drive slower. Matt says, Canada, where we build wide straight roads not suited for residential homes and then wonder why people drive fast on them. A straight stretch like Robinson Drive, this is from Jolene. A straight stretch like Robinson Drive, these do nothing. A competent driver can do 90 kilometers an hour through these without an issue. These are not even a deterrent. However, the speed limit of 40 kilometers is not going to do anything either. So I appreciate those comments. This doesn't seem like it's doing much, but what's the solution? hard to say. I don't know. I think if you made roadways make more sense, where people can drive fast on fast roads to get where they need to go, and then the side streets are just side streets. If the side streets are going to be faster than the main roads, then that's a planning problem. The city's planning. So you need roads you can drive fast on, that you're going to get to where you're going quicker on fast roads that are built to be fast. And then you have the side roads, which shouldn't be a faster way to get to where you're going, other than, so if that's the case, you are going to have people taking shortcuts, and you are going to do that too. And the very people complaining are going to do that too. Right? So yeah, it's all foolish for sure. It's pronounced Bullards. Okay, just like Mike back in the day, Mike Bullard. Put speed bumps on the side streets in residential areas. Yeah, definitely that would. Speed bumps do work. Like, I've experienced that. I'm definitely with you on that one. They do work. But again, you could put speed bumps, and I guess it's easier to do that than building new roadways that are going to get us to where we need to go faster. However, if you look at the Kelly Lake one, which this particular article is talking about Robinson Drive, and then you have the Kelly Lake Road, and then you can take a right at the end of it or go left on Bouchard. You go right on Bouchard. You can actually make that road a little wider, make it quicker to go around to the south end and match up with the bypass there somehow, and you can make a quicker go around is what I'm saying. But that again takes innovation and people that are open to things. Bouchard is good. Yeah. Speed bumps. Yep. Yeah. They've been there for a long time. Yeah. So many comments on these Bullards. Now back to the story we started with here, right? So Canada-wide shortage of liquid children's Tylenol now impacting chewables. So we had the video on that from CTV. However, Health Sciences North says it's unaffected so far by the shortage of pain meds. Some hospitals and health providers in Ontario are worried about a shortage of pain meds for children and epidural devices for women during childbirth. That's another one. Wow. Can you imagine that? You're going through the most painful childbirth in the world. Sure, they've done it back in the 1800s and whatever, without this modern technology, but is that something you want to hear when you go to the hospital? No, sorry, no epidural. Look, women did it historically, so you get a chance here to feel what they went through. Yay. So, not something that I would want my loved one, my spouse, my significant other to go through. If they were in dire pain, I would hope the hospital would have a solution with all the innovations we've made over the years for medicine and things like that. You would hope that we don't end up in a place where we don't even have the basic pain relief for basic procedures like this. So far, so good. Sudbury Hospital. Here's a little bit more in the city. City has applied to the Ministry of the Attorney General to be allowed to ticket people for parking on their own front lawns and side lawns, and the fees for which have yet to be determined. So, if you park on the front lawn, it's already a city bylaw to not do that, apparently. Or your side lawn, not allowed to. Can't park on your front lawn, can't park on your side lawn. And now there's going to be fines for that. And I know Sudbury.com has more on both of those stories. So the city reaffirms front lawn parking ban with new bylaw as part of the ongoing effort to end the practice of people parking on the front and side yards. City Council unanimously approved a bylaw to that effect last week. We're hoping that it makes an impact, Ward 12 Councillor Jocelyn Landry Altman told Sudbury.com. The policy will be very clear, so you can't say you didn't know. The new bylaw, known as the Unauthorized Area Parking Bylaw, prohibits people from parking, standing, or stopping a motor vehicle within an unauthorized area, which includes front and side yards. Although the new bylaw was pretty much echoes the existing zoning bylaws, it adds teeth when it comes to enforcement. Stephanie Mewson, who is the city bylaw manager, noticed the enforcement for current zoning bylaw requires a summons to court to answer to charges, which can be a long, drawn-out process. It says long, but I put long, drawn-out process just because it's a dad joke. Anyways, I'm going to end with that today. A silly joke. Thanks for joining us. We may not be here. We actually won't be here on Monday, everyone. So, starting a new position at work. And so I got a new setup and everything. And I'm going to be doing these broadcasts from my office because there's a larger distance to drive. Now, in order to do that, I have to get set up, make everything happen. It's going to take me at least Monday. And so we may not be on the air Monday, possibly Tuesday, but for sure, we will be back on Wednesday. So thanks for hanging in with us. Thanks for watching and listening, CKLU. Make sure to keep liking and sharing and commenting. We really appreciate your support. This is your show. So thanks for being with us. And we'll see you at least on Wednesday, if not Tuesday next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU. Have a great one, everyone. Ciao.
Free News Talk on the morning shift.